A while ago I made a video about a plasma speaker that I made. Here's the second version of it. Before it was just two wires kind of laying on the table, but I've made it a little more solid, so I have this spark gap set up with two screws like that. So for the main components of the plasma speaker, there's the power leads over there. Here's the flyback transformer. I've wound my own primary on it right there. And here's the transistor with a heatsink and a fan. And over here, this is the driving circuit that turns the transistor on and off. And this is where you can introduce an audio signal. So the driving circuit is based on a pulse width modulation controller. It's the TL494. So on this board you see that chip and a timing capacitor and resistor kind of thing, and there's a couple potentiometers for adjusting the frequency and the duty cycle. And these three capacitors are to help out the power supply when there's a large drain of current. This resistor right there is on the output of the chip, and it helps to discharge the gate of the transistor when it turns off. This diode right there is a flyback diode or a freewheeling diode, whatever you want to call it. When the transistor turns off, there's a positive voltage on the drain that's higher than the supply voltage, and that's from the inductance of the primary coil. So that diode allows that high voltage to circulate back to the supply side. So the transformer primary is drawn there in the middle. The diode's on the left side and the transistor is drawn as a switch at the bottom. It's drawn in black for being closed and red for being open. So when it goes from the closed state to the open state, the top of that transistor sees not only the positive supply voltage but also an extra inductive voltage, and that diode allows that higher voltage to go back up to the supply voltage. So here I've got the plasma speaker hooked into this power supply, and the fan is going, but I've got that switch open right now, so no power is being delivered to the transformer. So I'll close the switch. You can see you get a nice arc forming there between the screws. Now this is with no audio signal being delivered to the chip. Here's the speaker wire over here, and it's interesting, when I just touch the speaker wire, you can hear noises coming from the arc right there. I'm just putting my finger on the wire because my body is kind of acting as an antenna. You get signals going into the chip, which change the noise coming from that arc. Here it is with everything set up and ready to play music. So, got a stereo there. There's the spark gap where the arc will play music. Here's the power supply and the oscilloscope viewing the transistor drive signal. So right now you can see it's stable. Now I'll turn on the stereo and it starts to oscillate a little bit. If I turn up the volume, it'll oscillate more. So there you go. It's actually extremely loud at maximum volume, so I'm going to turn it down. Okay, there we go. That waveform changes a bit when I switch on the transistor. You can see it decreased in amplitude a little bit, and there's some kind of distortion peaks at the top and bottom. So I'll play some music with it and scroll through some radio stations. So as you can tell, there's still a whole lot of distortion in the sound coming from this plasma speaker. It doesn't sound as good as a paper speaker yet, but I know that theoretically you can get a plasma speaker to sound very good with very high quality sound. So I'm going to work on it again sometime, and hopefully I can make the sound better.